Rhea Ripley forgives Dominik Mysterio. Major plans for the Bloodline on WWE SmackDown this week. The WWE has not addressed a major controversy with Randy Orton and Seth Rollins. Released WWE stars officially sign with a rival promotion. AEW called out for using plastic toys as weapons on TV. Triple H has changed one thing from Vince McMahon's era, a WWE Legend on John Cena retiring from WWE in 2025. The WWE is set to pull off a major swerve in CM Punk's feud with Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. Ronda Rousey targets Vince McMahon yet again. Let's dive right in. Major plans for the Bloodline on WWE SmackDown this week. WWE Friday Night SmackDown is rapidly approaching, and it is bound to be a big show. This will be the first edition of the Blue brand following the Money in the Bank Premium live event. That show saw a massive main event featuring big-time stars. Cody Rhodes teamed up with Randy Orton and Kevin Owens to take on the Bloodline's Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, and Tama Tonga. Tonga Loa was also involved, albeit illegally. In a move that surprised some, the Bloodline stood tall. This came after a dire warning to Cody Rhodes and the rest of World Wrestling Entertainment in an intense video package on SmackDown the prior night. Now the question becomes, what will the stable do next? Here are 4 things that the Bloodline could do on WWE SmackDown this week. Number 1, Solo Sikoa could challenge Cody Rhodes to an undisputed WWE Championship match. As noted, the main event of Money in the Bank was a 6-man tag team match. The Bloodline battled 3 of the best wrestlers in WWE in what turned out to be quite a good bout. Ultimately, it was the Bloodline who stood tall, but the person who got pinned and who did the pinning is particularly notable. Cody Rhodes was pinned, which is extremely rare since his WWE return. The man who got the pinfall victory was Solo Sikoa, thanks to Jacob Fatu taking out the American Nightmare. This left many fans shocked. Now that Solo has pinned Cody, a title opportunity seems all but guaranteed. On SmackDown, Sikoa could officially make the challenge. The American Nightmare and the alleged new tribal chief could clash at SummerSlam for the world title. Nick Aldis would be hard-pressed to deny the Bloodline and fans of this match. Number 2, Hikuleo could be announced as the stable's newest member. The Bloodline has changed dramatically over the past few months. Roman Reigns and The Rock have taken a break from WWE, and Jimmy Uso was violently kicked out. Solo recruited Tonga Loa, Jacob Fatu, and Tama Tonga in their place. With Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa in the group, the faction is quite dangerous. They may be joined by another Tongan brother, however. Many believe the towering Hikuleo could be WWE bound, and thus will be a part of the Bloodline. While there is no evidence he has signed with the promotion, if Hikuleo is joining World Wrestling Entertainment, he could debut on Friday. Solo Sikoa could hold another ceremony of some kind and introduce the big man to make the Bloodline even more imposing. Number 3, Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline could taunt Roman Reigns. As noted, an interesting video aired to conclude WWE Friday Night SmackDown last week. It featured the Bloodline sitting at a table, with the primary focus being on Solo Sikoa. In it, he mentioned planning to take the world title from Cody Rhodes. Perhaps equally, or even more interesting, was that he took shots at Roman Reigns. Sikoa said Reigns wasn't man enough to retain the undisputed WWE Championship at WrestleMania, and if he had a problem with Solo taking over, he could do something about it. On SmackDown this Friday, Solo may choose to continue to taunt the tribal chief. This could mean on the microphone, or just continuing to adopt Roman's traits, such as the spear, or his various nicknames. This could ultimately be used to build towards a future match. Number 4, Cody Rhodes could be brutalized by the faction. The new Bloodline is quite different from the old faction. There are different members, which inherently makes it stand out. The differences go beyond that, however. The mentality of the WWE faction is much different. Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa seemingly have no morals. They are ruthless and will go to any length to get ahead. The new Bloodline has no problem hurting anybody and everybody in their path in the most violent ways possible. As a result, Friday Night SmackDown could see Solo Sikoa and his stable target Cody Rhodes. Instead of simply calling the American Nightmare out for a future match, they may attack and brutalize the reigning undisputed WWE champion. Cody could be injured or at least left a bloody mess as a message regarding who runs World Wrestling Entertainment. The WWE has not addressed a major controversy with Randy Orton and Seth Rollins. Despite initially promising to address a major controversy involving Randy Orton and Seth Rollins, WWE has yet to do so. Triple H spoke about both incidents, but nothing has been done about it. In the final match of King of the Ring, when Gunther beat Randy Orton, his shoulder was not down on the mat for the 3 count. Similarly, when Seth Rollins hit Damian Priest with the Falcon Arrow at Money in the Bank, Priest's shoulder was down for the full pinfall, but the referee stopped counting. On both occasions, Triple H acknowledged the reality of the situation. However, he has said that the referee's decision was final. On the first occasion, though, he stated that Randy Orton deserved another shot, and that Gunther would agree to it. Especially after what I saw tonight, I certainly want to see that again. I think Randy Orton deserves to have another shot at that, and I think if I know anything about Gunther, he will want to have another shot at that," he added. Now though, Gunther is being promoted for his match against Damian Priest at SummerSlam, with Orton nowhere in the picture. It seems that WWE has chosen to ignore the situation and move past it while keeping Gunther off screen for several weeks. Meanwhile, Seth Rollins should rightfully be the new champion after what happened, but he's not, and seems to be getting ready to join the Drew McIntyre and CM Punk feud. Despite being acknowledged, WWE has yet to properly address both controversies. Released WWE stars officially sign with a rival promotion. 2 released WWE superstars have reportedly found a new home. The promotion has made many changes in recent months and let some popular stars go. Mace and Mansoor were a part of the Maximum Male Models faction before the group was disbanded. The original leader of the group was Max Dupree, now known as LA Knight. Maxine Dupree debuted as Dupree's sister, but last year she abandoned the faction to join Alpha Academy. According to a new report from Fightful Select, Mace and Mansoor have officially signed with AEW Ring of Honor. The duo were released by WWE last year and have been backstage for AEW Ring of Honor shows as of late. Mansoor has dropped a freestyle rap after Max Caster claimed he didn't want them in the promotion. Caster has previously done the same to Shelton Benjamin when rumors of him going to AEW circulated. "We're taking Caster's spot. I can feel the resentment. He's about to be forgotten like the rhymes in his entrance," said Mansoor. Former WWE star Mansoor has claimed that Vince McMahon really wanted Aaliyah to have a boyfriend on television. Aaliyah set the record for the fastest victory ever with her win over Natalya in 2022. However, she was released by the company in September 2023. Speaking on the Inside MXM Twitch channel, Mansoor claimed Vince McMahon wanted Aaliyah to have a romance angle on television. Vince really wanted Aaliyah to be in a relationship with anyone. He was like, "Who can we get to do a love angle with Aaliyah?" And the writers were frantically going around, I remember this, they were frantically going around SmackDown going, "Hey, can you do an angle with Aaliyah where you're her boyfriend?" I remember there was a bunch of them going, "My wife won't let me do that." They were like, F, he said. Mace and Mansoor were stuck with unfortunate gimmicks during their tenure as WWE superstars. It will be interesting to see if they find success in AEW Ring of Honor moving forward. AEW called out for using plastic toys as weapons on TV. AEW Dynamite presented a packed show from Calgary this week. Little did they know that Chris Jericho and Samoa Joe would tear the house down using foreign objects that weren't necessarily legitimate. During the July 10th episode of AEW Dynamite, Samoa Joe lost a Calgary Stampede street fight to Chris Jericho. During the match, Jericho grabbed a bag from under the ring and dumped it to reveal several horseshoes. Jericho aimed to send Joe crashing through the horseshoes, but Joe blocked him. Jericho hit a boot to Joe's midsection and ran the ropes, but Joe intercepted him and sent Jericho crashing through the horseshoe's spine first. Joe followed with a senton and pinned Jericho, but Jericho kicked out. Fans were quick to call out this spot online, noting that Chris Jericho was using plastic toy horseshoes. Unlike the thumbtacks they used, those horseshoes were not legit. In the end, Chris and Joe made their way backstage, where Big Bill emerged from a nearby room and struck Joe's spine with a chair to break the hold. Brian Keith joined him, and both men continued beating Joe down. They held Samoa Joe in place as Jericho hit him with a cowbell. Keith and Bill placed Joe on a pallet on a forklift, and Jericho got on the forklift. Jericho drove Joe in the forklift through part of the drywall in the Saddle Dome, leading the doctor to call for the match to be stopped. We will have to see what's next for Chris Jericho, but he had quite a showing in Calgary. Samoa Joe was led off in an ambulance as the Learning Tree waved goodbye and said, "Thank you." The reason for Joe being taken away in an ambulance is interesting, but it's uncertain what the end game is. What's your take on Chris Jericho and Samoa Joe's match during the July 10 episode of AEW Dynamite? Triple H has changed one thing from Vince McMahon's era. Triple H replaced his father-in-law, Vince McMahon, as WWE's creative figurehead in 2022. In an exclusive interview, WWE Hall of Famer Mark Henry noted how the game has slightly altered the size of wrestlers in the main event scene. McMahon oversaw WWE's creative direction for 40 years after taking over from his father in 1982. During that time, the 78-year-old often booked physically imposing wrestlers in high-profile matches instead of the best in-ring performers. Speaking to Sportskeeda Wrestling senior editor Bill Apter, Henry addressed the fact that Triple H does not seem to care about wrestlers' heights. "I think just the players, just the talent, is the only difference. I always say that I play favorites. I don't treat everybody the same, and I think that was always the case in pro wrestling. The ownership took a premium on big guys. Giant 6'6", 300-pound guys. That's not necessarily the case anymore. That's the only difference that I see. A WWE legend on John Cena retiring from WWE in 2025. WWE Hall of Famer Booker T has commented on John Cena's announcement that he'll retire from in-ring competition next year. The 16-time world champion made a surprise appearance at Money in the Bank in Toronto and broke the shocking news. The Cenation leader carried the company throughout the majority of the PG era as the franchise player and top babyface. He is one of the most decorated superstars of all time, and many people regard him as a first-ballot Hall of Famer. The multi-time champion stated that next year's Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, and WrestleMania will be his last. Speaking on the latest edition of the Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T spoke highly of John Cena and referred to him as the greatest of all time. He also spoke about how the latter has contributed a lot to the wrestling business. He's put in the work. He's the GOAT. He's done so much for the business, man. He really has. He's been an ambassador in so many ways. A lot of people don't see the work that John Cena did to get to that point, right where he is now as far as this level of stardom in professional wrestling as well as Hollywood. But John Cena was the guy that would be making sure he's picking up the trash in the locker room, just so the boys wouldn't look bad to the staff that's got to clean. He'd be the first guy to show up and the last guy to leave every time, said Booker. The WWE is set to pull off a major swerve in CM Punk's feud with Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. The rivalry between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk has reached a boiling point. The duo is expected to lock horns at this year's SummerSlam, the undertone of which has already been set. However, WWE could pull off a massive swerve at the last minute that could leave fans flabbergasted. The Stamford-based promotion could inject Seth Rollins into this rivalry and make it a triple threat match at the biggest party of the summer. The possibility of it happening arose in light of what transpired on the latest edition of Monday Night Raw. The Visionary has scores to settle with CM Punk, as the latter inadvertently cost him the World Heavyweight Championship at Money in the Bank. However, Punk's reluctance to deliver a genuine apology to Rollins on Raw has added fuel to the fire. As a result, the former Shield member vowed to make the Second City Saint pay before the latter gets his hands on Drew McIntyre. With all three superstars intertwined in the same storyline, this could lead to a multi-person match at SummerSlam 2024. Although fans were hoping for a Punk-McIntyre match at the event, WWE could pull off a huge surprise by including Seth Rollins in this storyline, as the latter does not seem to have any other plans for the August spectacle. CM Punk is currently involved in an intriguing feud with Drew McIntyre, which has started to shape as the biggest rivalry of this summer. This feud is expected to continue for a few months, even after SummerSlam 2024. However, WWE may have sown the seeds of Punk's WrestleMania 41 match amid his ongoing storyline. The Best in the World is expected to lock horns with Seth Rollins at the Showcase of the Immortals next year. The company may have already laid the foundation for this potential match on Monday Night Raw, as both superstars were involved in a heated exchange of words. The architect vowed to come after the 45-year-old star after what transpired at Money in the Bank. This could eventually lead to a showdown between Seth Rollins and CM Punk at WrestleMania 41. It will be interesting to see how the dynamics between Punk, Rollins, and McIntyre evolve in the coming weeks. Ronda Rousey targets Vince McMahon yet again. Ronda Rousey parted ways with WWE after her match against Shayna Baszler at SummerSlam last year. Since then, she has publicly criticized her experience with the company and gone after Vince McMahon in particular. In fact, she claimed that anyone is better than McMahon as head of WWE. In her book, Our Fight, Ronda Rousey talked about her WWE experiences, providing candid insights into her tenure with the company. Notably, she uses strong language towards Bruce Pritchard and John Laurinaitis, expressing her frustrations by telling them to go F themselves. Ronda Rousey also alleges that WWE discriminated against women. While speaking with CBSSports.com, Ronda Rousey shared her thoughts on WWE's new leadership under Paul Triple H Levesque. She saw a positive outlook, contrasting it with her views on Vince McMahon's tenure, and stated that anyone is better as head of WWE than Vince McMahon. Rousey also commented on recent developments in WWE, noting comments from Natalya Neidhart about a recent card featuring equal representation of women alongside men. Rousey emphasized her desire to see women not only featured in matches, but also given substantial time on the show. She expressed happiness for the women currently thriving under the new regime, believing there is significant potential for improvement in how women are represented and utilized in WWE. I think anyone's better than Vince McMahon. The only place you can go is up. I really enjoy Triple H and working with him, and honestly, I haven't been watching, but I saw something from Natty Neidhart saying that they had a card recently that had just as many women on it as the men. That's what I would really like to see. The women equally represented with not just matches on the card, but time on the show. I feel there's no place they could go but up, and I'm really happy for all the women still there and thriving under the new regime. Ronda Rousey has been labeled bitter woman for her anti-WWE remarks, and it's not difficult to understand why. Nevertheless, Rousey is far more focused on her other career right now, so pro wrestling doesn't really matter to her anymore. Do you agree with what Ronda Rousey had to say when it comes to anyone but Vince McMahon running WWE? Rhea Ripley forgives Dominik Mysterio? Rhea Ripley, who had to vacate the WWE Women's World Championship due to an injury in April, made her triumphant return on Raw this week. She is clearly not happy with Mysterio, as she recently called him out for being a liar, but she seemingly deleted her comment for some reason. During the July 8th episode of WWE Raw, Rhea Ripley made a dramatic return. In the main event, Liv Morgan caused a major distraction by using a chair against Rey Mysterio. This allowed Dominik Mysterio to capitalize with a low blow, followed by a splash to secure the victory. After the match, Liv leapt into Dominik's arms, and it looked like they were about to kiss. However, Ripley's entrance music suddenly played, stopping the celebration. Liv quickly escaped through the crowd, leaving Ripley to confront Dominik alone. As the show went off the air, Dominik attempted to explain himself, but an enraged Ripley shoved him away and made her displeasure clear. In a recent Instagram post, Dominik Mysterio gloated about defeating his father, Rey Mysterio, on this week's episode of Monday Night Raw, and called himself the greatest Mysterio of all time, claiming he did it himself. What's interesting is the fact that Kathy Kelly pointed out Liv Morgan helped him win. This led to Rhea Ripley calling out Mysterio for being a liar and fabricating the truth. However, the comment is no longer on the post, as she seems to have deleted it for some reason. Kathy Kelly, I guess he's used to fabricating it now. With Ripley back on WWE television, fans are eagerly anticipating how she will handle Dominik Mysterio, given her apparent feelings of betrayal. The upcoming episodes promise to reveal Ripley's next moves and the repercussions for Dominik, keeping the WWE universe on the edge of their seats. Why do you feel Rhea Ripley called Dominik Mysterio out like that? Will they be able to mend fences?